Boom, boom. How's it going? How's it going? Yeah, it is ITJ and welcome. You can see that I'm out in the garden today, just chilling out and seeing, enjoying the weather that we've got. But hey, if you've never been here before, my name is TJ Taurai Jack. And on this channel here, we talk about anything and everything around real estate. And real estate, you can do gardening, you can do anything that you want to do. Yeah, it's all your real estate. But today I wanted us to talk about the fear of starting. Now, I am no exception of this fear. There's many types of fears out there. There's what they call the fear of missing out. There's what they call the fear of heights. They all have names, right? But I want to speak to what is called the fear of starting. And for a lot of people, I think I was one of those people as well who had the fear of starting. So I'm going to give you guys a story. Back in the days when I was just, growing up, I was like super scared of women. Like, for instance, like I just couldn't ask anyone out. And for that, I realized actually that I had the fear of just asking someone out. It was a fear. And many men still have it right up until today, the fear of just talking to someone else. But here is the thing, right? I think for me, when I look at some women, I'm like looking at them and how they operate and things like that. Even though a man might have a fear of actually starting to ask them out, they might actually just present themselves in different, in a different hairstyle, in a different makeup, in a different gear. And at some point, the brother is just going to ask the question, hey, I'm interested, right? But here is the thing, right, to that short story. There is two parties involved here. There's the one person who's wanting actually something, but they are afraid. And then there's the other one who's knowing that the other party is afraid. So for that reason, the other party is going to kind of like, woo them out until they can ask the question. And if they don't, well, these days I have seen women that I've also been asking guys out to, they're seeing that these guys here, they are afraid. They have the fear of starting, so they start the conversation. But the thing about property is that, if you've got the fear of starting in property, the property is never going to present itself in all different style, in all different gear, in a different hairstyle. It's not going to do that. The property is always going to be standing there, and nobody is ever going to see the potential of it, not unless you start. Yeah? But let I also say that the fact that I was afraid of starting off is because of my background that I had. So what was that background? Not knowing, not having the right information. So let's dive into the fear of starting. What causes the fear of starting? Men have been labeled to be the greatest procrastinators on planet Earth. And yet we also have, statistically, they say there's lots of men that have invested in properties, but the good thing is that we are also seeing a great number of women that have also growing in terms of investing in property as first-time home buyers or second home buyers, property for investing. So which means that the procrastinating is no longer amongst us as a people. We are progressing statistically. That's what they are saying. So let's deal with the fear of starting. What is the fear of starting? The fear of starting is just, when you're out there and you want to ask a question, you want to do something, but you're just afraid to start. Potentially, you might have all the information that you actually need. Potentially, you actually have all the results that you need, or you have done all the analysis. Potentially, you have gone out to see properties, but you're just afraid to start. And when I mean afraid to start, it might be meaning of you're afraid actually to just buy a property, but you have the money. And potentially, you're just afraid of coming into a class and you have the money. Potentially, you're just afraid to go and view properties itself. But you have the ability, you have the car, the estate agent, or potentially you have the fear of just calling the estate agent. One of my partners, she says to me at one point, you know what, TJ, when I was starting off, I was afraid to call estate agents. I said, really? Why are you afraid to call estate agents? She said, I was just afraid. I was afraid that they are going to ask me so many questions that I don't have answers to. So there is a bigger problem behind the fear of starting. It's not just the fear of starting. So what are you afraid of? That's what the question is all about here. So it's not really about the fear itself, but what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that when you buy the property, there's tenants that are not going to pay? Are you afraid that when you buy the property, maybe it's going to burn down? So these are risks, right? Or are you afraid that by just picking up and calling the estate agent is going to ask you many questions, maybe questions that you don't know even how to answer? Maybe you might be one of those people that were like in my position back in the days. You were in debt, so you are afraid that if you had to go out and ask the estate agent for viewing, they are going to ask you for your payslip. They're going to ask you for your income. They're going to ask you of all those details, and it's going to expose you that you do not have or you don't qualify for this property. So why are you looking for a property that you cannot qualify for? So these are all fears that we have, right? And I can go on, and I think at this point I want to ask of you to say, what is your fear? I'm not going to judge, and I'm going to ask of you guys that all of you guys who are also going to be seeing this video here, when you see the fears of other people in the comments below, the idea here is not to judge others. So don't judge like what I did. I judged someone else who had the fear of calling the estate agent because I was good at it. So what you're good at it, someone else might not be able to be good at it. So let's talk about the fact that you have this fear. So in the comments below, let me know if you have any form of fear around starting your journey in property investment. What is that fear? All right. And I remember one of my fears was definitely, of course, I was afraid the fact that they were going to ask me of all my credentials, obviously knowing that I was in debt. But I worked around it. So for every risk, when you're afraid of something, that's called a risk. You're afraid of something. It's a risk, right? And for every risk that you have, or any objection that you might have, or you're thinking that you might have, you should already anticipate that objection or that risk. When you anticipate it, then you can actually be able to say, well, I can mitigate or I can answer it this way. And if you don't know how to do that, I would say to you that in your own household, where you are with your partner, with your family, you can start practicing these objections. So you can start by practicing simple things like, your other partner is an estate agent. Let's just say you're afraid of calling in an estate agent. So the other partner is an estate agent and you're on the other side. And you go into the other room, and there your other partner goes into the room, and you call them. You literally call them. Hi, how's it going? I am Susan. And you rehearse how you are going to talk to this estate agent. And obviously your partner needs to play along and play the estate agent. The more you're going to practice with that in your own household, with the people that you're comfortable with, it is going to become easier when you're actually talking to a estate agent in real life. I'm saying this because it's things that I see in my community. I've got the Property M5 Property Varsity, and these are some of the things that we talk about, especially with guys that are starting off. And they tell me that, TJ, I'm afraid of this. TJ, my fear is A, B, C, D. And that's why I'm addressing it today. Because I don't want you to be left out in 2021. I want you to also be starting off in property. And if you're that individual that are now saying to me, you know what, TJ, I want to start, and how best do I start? I've conquered my fears. One of the things that you can do to conquer your fear is the practice that I spoke about. So find out, the first bottom thing that you need to do is to find what that fear is. If you know what it is, then you can actually be able to mitigate it. If you don't know what it is, then you're not able to solve for it. So identify the fear. That's the first thing. The second thing is that then practice, rehearse with the other people that you're already comfortable with, okay? Rehearse with people that you're comfortable with. The third thing is that you can actually go out and just do it, right? So identify, practice, and just go and do it. Oh, okay. That's a little bit difficult. I understand that. So let me take you back a little bit. If you're not able to follow my easy 3-way steps, then I would say to you, you need to be in a class with other like-minded people. You need to be in a class with like-minded other people. What do I mean by that? There are other people that also have maybe some other different fears compared to you, but we are all afraid. So what's going to happen? What will happen is that we can all come into a class. In the link below, there is a link where you can literally jump into a session where it's coming up in early February. So you join in there, and then there's many tips. If you don't want to come to the class, that's all right too. You can stay at home. But if you're one of those people that are saying, hey, TJ, I want the tips. So I'll give you the tips before you even come to the class. And if that's good for you, that's all right. I've helped you and I'm okay with that. But if you're wanting then to progress it, then you can come to the class. And in the class, we start unpacking stuff now that you can, tactics that you can start using, like very detailed tactics on how you can approach your fears, and you can overcome these fears, and you can also put factual stuff on the table to make sure that these fears are away. But it's not just to make sure that the fears are away. I want to take you to the next level, which is taking the fears away and put money on the table. What do I mean by that? For you to be profitable in the business. What do I mean by that business? Real estate can become a business. Back in the days, I used to be employed. Now I'm not. I am unemployable right at the moment. But at the moment, what I do is I work in a business where I buy properties for rental, and out of that, the properties pay me as my salary. And that's how I get to afford to be doing stuff like this, talking to you, because I know that my basic stuff is sorted out. My name is TJ. It's been great hanging out with you, but I am looking forward to answering. I'm going to dedicate today, ladies and gentlemen, to answering your questions on the fears. So in this video here, in the comments below, let me know what is your fears, and I'll address to you on how best you can actually be able to overcome that. We'll check you out on the next video.